Agatha All Along, starring Kathryn, Hahn, and Aubrey Plaza from Marvel Studios, premiered last week on Disney+. Well, it may have a somewhat respectable score from both critics and audiences when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, but the fact of the matter is, in terms of viewership, this show is a total bomb for Disney, and you're not going to believe some of the other shows out there that are beating it. Here we go, kids. Agatha All Along, exactly like I told you was going to be the case. I said last week, the reason that they are not releasing numbers on Agatha, the reason that they are not following suit, is the same reason they didn't release them on Echo. That means Agatha is even worse than The Acolyte. Renegade Online. Well, folks, welcome back. Another great day here at Valiant Renegade. It's good to see everybody out there once again. And if you are like one of the many watching this video, not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment and turn that little red subscribe button to gray. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out on the social medias. And of course, please do leave a comment before you head out the door today. Make sure to join us every Sunday and Wednesday afternoon right here on Valiant Renegade for the live shows. Now, you'll note that our friend Dread Roberts, make sure you check out his YouTube channel, joined us for this conversation, but he was really here for the second part of this, which will debut tomorrow, where we have some updates about Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Here we go, kids. Agatha All Along, exactly like I told you was going to be the case. I said last week, the reason that they are not releasing numbers on Agatha, the reason that they are not following suit, is the same reason they didn't release them on Echo. That means Agatha is even worse than The Acolyte. And The Acolyte, at least Disney could pull off this phony, not really phony, let me rephrase that. Disney could pull off this gaslighting of wonderful, platitudes of The Acolyte, the biggest launch on Disney Plus of 2024. It was basically the only launch on Disney Plus of 2024 besides Echo, which was nobody watched. After a day and then after 5 days, Disney had not put out any press releases officially on Agatha All Along. And at that point, we knew the viewership must be atrocious. Finally, today, Agatha All Along hits 9.3 million views after not one day, not 4 days, not 5 days, a whole frickin' week. 9.3 million views in 1 week on Disney+. It's so bad, Jonas. How bad is it? It's so bad that even Variety couldn't get around. little Mel Brooks humor there. It's so bad that even Variety couldn't get around saying what needed to be said. Check this out. The opening of Agatha All Along appears to be roughly on par with Percy Jackson in the Olympians, which in December of 2023 debuted with 13.3 million views in 6 days. How is that on par? It
sounds like below par.
Yeah, it sounds like it's almost 40% less. I mean, it's missing, call it 30, but again, Percy Jackson measured in 6 days. Agatha measured in 7 days. There's 4 million views shy.
It's a 60% difference in rate. That's all I can say. It's 1.3 million per day per Agatha All Along, and 2.2 for Percy Jackson. That is an astronomical difference in rate.
That's crazy. It's insane. Agatha, nobody's watching this show. I'm sorry. It just sucks as a show. And I get the fact that it has a Rotten Tomatoes score with audiences that is respectable. In all fairness, it is respectable. But there's simply not enough of you watching it. But wait, there's more. The Acolyte, the June 2024 Star Wars series that hit 11.1 million views in 5 days. Again, on par with The Acolyte. Again, I'm disagreeing with this, because if The Acolyte managed to get 11 million views in 5 days, what did Agatha actually pull in through day 5? It was less than 9.3. We darn well know that. Because it was 9.3 at the end of 7 days. So again, I don't see how this is on par. The Acolyte was already one of the most poorly watched major IP shows, that being Star Wars, Marvel, okay, on Disney Plus, that is live action. I'm not talking about like animated titles from Walt Disney Animation and Pixar and stuff like that. But live action is about the most poorly watched thing that they had thus far on Disney Plus, at least for Star Wars, by a country mile. They say, however, because Disney hasn't provided statistics measured through a standardized period of time, it's difficult to make a conclusive comparison. Jonas, why do you think that Disney might not want to do a standardized period of time?
Because this is the entire thing with the Disney company. They don't want the actual profitable thing. They want everyone to think that they are number one. They never want you to have actual data. They always want to hide the ball. They don't even release numbers on how profitable their film division is, because they would rather have the number one film at the box office making $1 billion at the box office. They would rather spend 1.2 to make 1 billion, and then the cost of making that 1 billion. This is a company that desperately, pathetically wants to be perceived as number one in every single thing that they do. They would rather light 230 million USD on fire than admit that they don't have the number one spot.
Wow.
Yeah. And guess what, kids? It doesn't end there, because it actually does get worse, believe it or not. So we've started getting confirmation on certain places from like Luminate and from Samba TV, which I always say that Samba TV is really only good for comparing to other measurements by Samba. You know how Netflix started last year putting out these massive spreadsheets of what people watched on Netflix? And they gave you the total number of consumption of hours around the world and what that translated into views, using the same metric as Disney, using the same total runtime divided and total watch time gets you a view, right? Ricky Gervais' Armageddon was out for 1 week before the last Netflix period ended, just a comedy special by Ricky Gervais, which Netflix didn't even have global rights to. It got 9 million views.
That's crazy.
That's one of like the lowest performing things on Netflix, or one of the lower performing things on Netflix. Disney is literally competing with the spaghetti that Netflix throws against the wall. Like, they're not even close to touching. An Adam Sandler movie, Murder Mystery 2, racked up like 30 million views in the first week or something. It's ridiculous.
That's sad.
Yeah, this is where we and guess what? None of those things cost $200 million like Agatha does. That's what every Disney production costs. The Penguin opens to 5.3 million viewers across 4 days. Now, remember, we said Agatha, 9.3 million views, 7 days. A lot of people look at this and they go, 5.3 million viewers in 4 days. Well, that's comparable then, right? That's about half the time. And it's about half the views. Of course, views are far more front-loaded, right? Just like a YouTube video. You put out a YouTube video, most of your views come in the first few hours, and then it tends to level off, right? 5.3 million viewers. Let's not forget that The Penguin probably cost half of what Agatha did, probably a third of The Acolyte. And these 5.3 million views, Jonas, what geographic area are these from?
The 5.3 million, I'm going to guess that is only in the United States.
Correct, Jonas. This is only in the United States of America, not even North America. This doesn't even include Canada. This is just in the U.S. alone, 5.3 million viewers in 4 days. And the Acolyte's viewership of 11 million and Agatha's viewership of 9.3 million were what geographic location, Jonas?
Earth.
Earth. That is correct. The entire planet of Earth in a week for Agatha. This is why this fails. Penguin takes the prize at number 1. Rings of Power barely hangs on. Agatha All Along doesn't even chart in the top 10. What a Disney dumpster fire. And there you have it. The Penguin absolutely dominated. It even dominated the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, which is a massive hit on Netflix. Massive hit. They're racking up big numbers for that one. And there you see Tulsa King, Season 2, which just recently premiered. A fantastic Taylor Sheridan show, the guy who writes Yellowstone, starring Sylvester Stallone. I loved Season 1. I'm about to go re-binge it and watch Season 2. Tulsa King releases weekly. It's not a binge drop like Netflix. And Jonas, question?
Mm-hmm.
Paramount Plus, does that have more subs, the same number of subs, or substantially fewer subs than the Disney Plus?
I'm gonna say it has substantially less. I think there's 160.
You're correct. You're 3 for 3, Jonas. You're knocking it out of the park today. Substantially fewer subscribers.
Job.
Yeah, substantially fewer subscribers than Disney Plus. Yeah. Tulsa King kicked the pants off of Agatha. Agatha didn't even break into the top 10. This is the premiere week, September 16th through 27th. Agatha All Along premiered on, what, the 18th, the Wednesday night? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 18th. It had 4 solid days in this chart.
I'm also going to point out that I don't know how much I don't know how much is available for Tulsa King Season 2 at this point, but Agatha, it was
one episode.
2 episodes of Agatha.
Oh yeah. Well,
2 episodes of Agatha, 1 episode of Tulsa King.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that this is like just total eyeballs. This doesn't count minutes watched, right? Samba just counts who turned it on. How many people turned it on that we measure? How many television sets do we measure that turned on the show? This is it. Tulsa King even beat, and I want to point this out, Rings of Power, and beat it by 3 positions.
Wow.
Paramount Plus. And you know Paramount Plus is significantly smaller than Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Paramount Plus is 67.5 according to this. I can't source it too else, just IndieWire, but that's a good enough rough estimate. So less than half the size of Disney Plus in the United States.
What, 67.5 what?
Million.
Yeah, but that's not just in the U.S. for Paramount. They don't have that many subs. They have like 30.
Ah, okay.
I think Disney has like 45.
Isn't Rings of Power like #1 on Amazon Prime right now?
Yeah.
They say it's #1. That means it's like a really bad number.
The Acolyte was #1 for Disney. I mean, The Acolyte was the biggest premiere. The Acolyte is, guess what? The Acolyte, we are in October almost. The Acolyte is still the biggest thing on Disney Plus right now, even with Agatha out. And that thing was toilet water. That's how bad it is. And what they consider, they spent almost $300 million on. But wait, kids. There's more. Now, I put this up, and Brewing Sailor had also done it. I'm just going to pull it up right here. Let's make things worse. This is Luminate, that works in tandem with Variety Magazine, whose article that we just read, that's who they broke the story to from Disney for the 9.3 million views. Streaming Originals Television, September 20 through 26. If you recall, the previous week data, which ended on September 19th, and I want to remind folks that Luminate, and I like the way they work, they measure in the same fashion as Nielsen with minutes watched. But their measurement week runs from Friday at midnight through the following week, Thursday night, 11:59 p.m., and I believe it's all Pacific Standard Time. Because a lot of things, like especially with streaming, have Friday drops, especially Netflix. So they capture a whole week of data. If you remember last week on the premiere of Agatha All Along, episodes 1 and 2 combined did not chart on this chart. They weren't there. Now, they had 24 to 28 hours of capture in that measurement, but they didn't chart. Check them out at number 6. Agatha All Along, which by this week had... this had 3 episodes, 3 episodes out, because the 3rd episode came out this week, right? Jonas?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Oh, yeah. It was an excellent little escape room at a lovely cottage home on the beach.
Jonas, look at number 6 and tell me how many minutes were watched for Agatha with 3 episodes, almost 2 hours at this point. You had 2 hours, 3 episodes of combined of 2 hours worth of watch time. How many millions of minutes were watched?
304.7 million. Is that a cumulative number? Is that both weeks right there?
Yes.
Ooh.
Wow.
Well.
No, that can't be.
Look, Jonas, look to the right. Previous estimated minutes watched, meaning last week when Agatha didn't chart in the top 10 on this Luminate chart, we didn't know what the minutes watched were. It had only captured the first 24 hours. It had only captured the first 24 hours of Agatha from Wednesday night at 9 Eastern to the following Thursday night until midnight. 72 million minutes were watched in the previous capture period. I ran the numbers. Agatha All Along had about 90 minutes of available watch time between the first 2 episodes. In the first 24 to 28 hours, depending on what time zone they capture this from, I'm pretty sure it's Pacific. But let's be generous and say it was 30 hours. 800,000 people tuned into this at the premiere in America.
Oh.
$200 million show.
Did you guys actually watch the episodes?
Unfortunately,
yes,
Dread. Yeah.
Did you see any of this humongous budget I keep hearing about in this show?
No. Disney overspends on a lot of things. Now, granted, we have a long way to go. There's going to be a lot more CGI, post-production VFX, way more than we saw already. So I'm sure that's where the money's coming in, just like The Acolyte. And you still can't wonder how they're going to have to spend almost $300 million on that. But 800,000 people in the U.S. checked out Agatha in the first 24 hours. 5.3 million people watched The Penguin in the first 4 days. I promise you, this did not multiply by 4 and 5 times. I don't know where this audience is for Agatha, but I don't think it's in the States.
That would make sense. People who don't speak English and it's translated into another language and maybe forgiving the fact that, it must be a translation issue. That's why this dialogue is so wooden.
It's so terrible. Here's the thing. 304 million minutes watched, right? So let's say that we had roughly 2 hours at that. We might have had a little over 2. I don't know how long episode 3 was because I didn't watch it. I gave up. But I know the first 2 episodes were about 45 minutes apiece. So I'm going to say the third episode is 30 minutes. It might be longer. So let's say we have 130, well, let's just call it 120. Let's be generous to it. 120 minutes of available watch time 24 hours after the show premiered, right? So you still a lot of early viewers coming in, right? 2.533 million is what I get after a whole week. Cumulative views. If everybody watched in America, if this is right, if everybody watched this show, episodes 1, 2, 3 from start to finish, totally consumed 100% of each episode, that means that according to Luminate, 2.5 million people tuned in over a week to watch this dumpster fire.
So let me ask you then. Luminate is U.S. only, right? Or is this supposed to be global?
U.S. only. U.S. only. Not even Canada.
That 800,000. That means that roughly 500,000 are international.
Well, 800,000 people in America watched
because it's 7 days. 9.3 million divided by 7 days is 1.3 million a day on this. So we're saying that if that rate is, and it's an average, it's not a real rate, it's a ballpark. We're saying about 500,000. So a pretty sizable chunk of this is people who are probably not paying full price for Disney. Disney Plus anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the views, if Luminate's right, if they're capturing, if that's their measurement, unless their measurements are way off, that's 2.5 million people that tuned in to watch it over a week in the US. Where did the other 7 million come from? Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.